It's Monday, guys. Hope you guys had a great weekend. We pretty much were working all weekend, but that's okay. We got a lot of great things going on. Just exciting stuff. A lot of really cool stuff coming up. Stuff that I can't even talk about right now. But first things I want to do is, does this look any different? Look at this background. Yes. And this is mostly due to a guy named John Jernigan, who I like to affectionately call John Jerkigan. But anyway, that's just me. Anywho, he kept razzing me about my background, that, you know, roll up rattan thing.
What was it he called it?
He called it, I don't know, it just, anyway, he called it cheesy and many worse things than that. Anyway, so look what we did. This is awesome. And I'd like to say, by the way, I did every bit of it myself.
Oh, you liar.
I'd like to say that, but I didn't. No, I hired my buddy Junior to do it. But this is exactly what I wanted. I absolutely am in love with this. So once we get to nice weather spring, I'll probably use a critter sprayer and put a finish on this whole thing. But I didn't want horizontal, I didn't want vertical, I wanted something different, and Junior just did an amazing job. Well, you just jumped on that whole liar thing, didn't you? I was gonna...
Junior's credit.
Yeah, anyway, so I'm absolutely in love with my back wall. Hope you guys like it. So, let's get cooking on this thing. We've got the outset letters. This is all done. I've trimmed it up. I've taken out the high spots. Next, we are going to cut our inset letters. I'm going to use my 60-degree bit in my little rigid router, and I'm going to cut these inset letters so we can move on with this thing. I'm excited to spray it, sand it off, and get a finish on it. So, stick with me. We'll be right back. All right. Okay, so I'm using the 60-degree bit in my little rigid R2401 router, and now we've got our little octopus lights. It's kind of blustery out here and cold, by the way. So I'm going to use the 60 on these inset letters, and we'll see how it's going to work. Here we go. Okay, let's talk about this a little bit, guys. So, I have got the bit set at... turn off the lights? Okay. I've got the bit set at 3/16 deep. However, very seldom during that whole cut was I ever at full depth of 3/16. If you look back, I had most of the time the base was off of the board at one point or another. Maybe the right hand side was down and the left hand side was up. I don't know. I do it kind of by instinct now. But My point is, why did I set it that deep? Because there were a couple spots like in here where it's a real fat line that it was full depth. I got to go over, this is, by the way, probably the squirreliest board that I've carved in a long time. Anyway, I'm going to go back and kind of trim those up a little bit. However, my point is that what I'm doing here is I am adjusting the depth as I go based on the width of the line. Again, that's one more reason why I don't really talk about depth that much. I talk more about the width of the line. That really is the case here. When you see a lot of CNC stuff done, especially when it comes to points, like I've watched some CNC stuff do stars on flags, and whenever you see basically a depth come up to a point, most of the time that stuff is done with a CNC, and that's how you can tell. So this is, I guess, my version of trying to imitate somewhat what a CNC would do. Anyway, guys, I hope
you're like a ENR.
ENR.
Eric and Roden. CNC ENR.
Yeah. Nice attempt there.
Hey, I like it.
Nice try. Thank you. I think that was a compliment. I think I could take that other ways too, but that's all right. Anywho, so I think you can get an idea of what I'm trying to accomplish here. So I just wanted to do those three. I'm going to do the rest off camera.
Because it's cold.
Because Vicky's freezing over there and she's giving me the stink eye. And so I'm going to do the rest of it off camera, and then when I come back, this will all be done. And then I think we can get into spraying and sanding. All right, here we go, guys. We're going to put the primer on there. I didn't want any extra ink or black on here anywhere, especially in the white area. But I just wanted to minimize my black on there, so I have a minimum of sanding and less chance of bleeding. Don't really, I can't recall that I've ever really had much issue with bleeding on Redwood, which is what this is, but I didn't want to take a chance, and I'd rather not have to sand any more than I absolutely have to. So let me turn that thing over. Let's see how that thing will set. Okay. Just going to hit that in a few places that are a little bit light. All right, we'll come back. I'll get all of that tape off there and we'll sand it off. All right, I think I got most of that off of there. Let's take a look. Ready? Looks pretty good so far. I'm pretty happy with that. So now what I'm going to do, guys, because these bell sanders obviously were sanding cross, and this thing is, the grain runs this way. What I'm going to do is now I will go back with the orbital, the random orbital, and sand the whole thing again, probably down to 220, because I want a really nice finish on this. But you guys don't need to see me do that. I'm going to do that off camera, but basically I'm just going to take my 5-inch disc sander and random orbital sand the whole thing down. Then we'll come back and start the finishing process. Hey folks, all right, so we've got a little bit of an issue that I need to take care of before I sand this thing down completely. So what I've realized is that we've got some of these cracks have kind of opened up a little bit, like this one that I had filled. This one did. I've already kind of filled it with CA, even though I've got a little bit more to do. And I've got some little like hairline cracks around that I want to fill in with the CA glue. But here's what I discovered, actually, just like this morning. So this CA, this Star Bond that I use, which I love this stuff. You can see there's got a thick and they've got a thin. And this is part of the kit that I ordered. I tried, because there's some really hairline cracks, I figured, well, I'll use the thin on that. And it may work as far as stabilizing goes. In fact, I'm sure it does, but it doesn't fill it like I really want. So even on the thin, in fact, I'll show you. So I'm going right here, and I'm not sure whether you can actually see that little tiny thin. So this is the thin, and I'll get it. Oh, by the way, these little things are so cool. These things are so cool. So this is little tips that you put on the regular nozzle, and then it feeds through there. These things are really, really neat. I love this stuff. Ah, dropped it. All right, so I'm just going to put some of this in there. And it works, and I know it's going down in, and I'm sure that would stabilize it.
And what are you using there?
This is the accelerator.
Hold it back just a smidge. There you go.
So this is the accelerator, which makes it dry immediately. And so that is great as far as and again, I'm not an expert at this, but for me, especially since I am going to put resin on this thing, I want it completely sealed up as much as possible so I don't get a bunch of air coming out of some of these cracks. So I've still got quite a bit of, most of them again have red in them, which is what I wanted. But so what I've decided to do, rather than using the thin, is I'm going to use the thick, and I'm just going to go over those little hairline cracks. And I don't know, you probably can't see that traveling down that tube. You might be able to.
No. Oh yeah, maybe a little bit.
But the thick, I believe, is going to fill those cracks better. Yeah, I'm going to go back over to here where I did a thin one earlier. And I'm going to put the thick there, and my intention is so that it not only stabilizes those cracks, but it seals them so that I don't have a bunch of air coming up from those cracks when I pour my resin on there. Although I'm actually going to put a finish on this thing, a couple coats of clear, which you're going to see here in a little bit. Before I put my resin on, because I really want to seal that thing up. So based on that, I'm going to go ahead and fill all of these cracks and sand it off, get it all sanded, ready to go, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to put some clear on this thing, and then once that's done, then we'll do our pour. So we'll be back. Okay, you guys, this has.
You gotta tell them what you just said.
I'm in a bit of a rush because this thing has been a nightmare. Every time where's my glue? Can you hand me my CA glue? I have filled this thing, the cracks on this thing with my CA glue, and I love this stuff, nothing against that, but because I've been doing some inside, some outside, I don't know if it's the temperature or what it is, but it's warm in the studio, it's cold out here, and I have filled these cracks literally at least 12 times, probably closer to 20. And every time I fill one, boom, another one spurs up. So I'm in kind of a rush because I got most of them filled, and so I told Vic, turn that camera on, let her rip, Tater Chip, because I want to get this thing.
Hilarious.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the crystal clear on it to try and get this thing at least somewhat sealed up before more cracks open up, and then I'm just going to have to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 or 3 coats of this stuff on to try and catch any open spots, or at least seal up some of this porous stuff, so it hopefully will, what am I trying to say, Vic? Well, yeah, so and not only that, but I want to try and eliminate what?
It looks like you missed this.
I missed up here. Well, it soaks in, so oh yeah, you're right, I did miss that. So that it kind of lessens my chance of micro bubbles when I put the resin on. So now let's do the edge. Oh, I knew I was going to love the way that edge looked with a finish on it. Oh my gosh. Oh, I love it. Officially, I'm back in love. A minute ago, I wanted to kick this thing over the fence, but I'm officially back in love with it. Once the resin happens, we'll see. I'll probably hate it again then.
At least 2 or 3 more times.
Yeah, at least a dozen more times. All right. All right, now let's see what the front looks like. See what our red line, our red bloodline looks like there. So again, my hope is that we're sealing this thing up good enough, and I'm probably going to put 2 or 3 coats of this on.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I love the way that looks. Probably going to put 2 or 3 coats of this stuff on to hopefully lessen our air bubbles. Bubbles? I'm talking faster than my eye teeth can see. Anyway, love the way that looks. Yeah. All right, so the cool thing about the way the breeze is blowing, here, I'll get over behind it. Now all we need is for it to fall off the bench and break in two. I'm going to hold on to it. So the cool thing about the way the breeze is blowing, and I kind of modified our little patio situation. You would not believe what the wind is doing out here today. It's got to be 30 to 40 mile an hour winds, but I've kind of put up a block over here on the side, which is, yeah, over on this side I don't have my block up yet, but it's really making a difference. So hopefully this sound is coming through okay. But where was I going with that?
Let it dry.
Oh yeah, with the wind blowing the way it is, this stuff will dry in a matter of minutes. So I'm probably going to have 2 or 3, maybe 4 coats on this thing within the next hour. Then when we come back, hopefully,
Lord willing and we don't ride.
that's right, we'll be inside and we'll be pouring epoxy. That's my hope. Pray for me. All right, here we go. I don't know about this. I'm pretty darn nervous. So what we've got, I think 4 coats of the acrylic, the crystal clear acrylic on here. Vicky says we got to move this stuff around with our hands. So where do I start? In the middle?
Hold on, don't start yet. Keep talking.
All right, so yeah, I got to keep talking because otherwise you'll hear the clock ticking. We can't have the clock ticking. Anyway, so what do you say? Now why?
Because those other ones are too big.
Oh, yeah, the gloves are too big.
So yeah, so we're gonna just pour it
Here we
kind of
go.
in your cavity there. Yeah.
So we mixed what about 18 ounces, which is what it says. Would we use the art resin calculator? They actually have an art resin calculator website that you can just go in and put in the dimensions. And so I put the square dimensions of the biggest parts of this thing, thinking that the cavity will make up the difference from this thing being rectangle kind of deal.
I like the control of using my hands.
Yeah, I don't know about that. It looks like it might be enough, but we'll see.
Yeah, gosh, this board's gorgeous.
Beautiful grain.
All right, so.
I think I was really actually more excited about the edge than actually the surface, but we'll see. So we'll see whether my my theory of kind of sealing it up with the Krylon is going to work.
That's beautiful. And that'll level out nice. And
we've got it fairly level. We'll put the level on it, four different spots all the way around, and it felt pretty good. Measured out pretty good. Yeah, that's
just want to make sure everything's
just about the right amount of
there.
Resin, isn't it?
I love playing in the resin. That's like
if it wasn't so messy, she'd be up rolling in it.
I just love it. I mean, you can just see the results so pretty quick, and it's just awesome. Anybody that hasn't tried resin, you should try it.
Yeah, you should just get some and play with it.
Yep.
Well, see, I'm seeing little bubbles come up a couple different places, but
Not like mine did. Mine came up crazy.
well, it's way early yet too.
It'll flow out by itself now. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. I got a bunch of it on my fingers.
I would. Well, I'm
gonna get the butane thing ready.
gonna have to say I agree with your theory of moving it around with your hands.
See? See?
I think you're right that it does actually give you a little bit more control rather than using a brush or the sponge things.
Well, and I think you're less likely to get stuff from the brush, or little hairs or little bits of the sponge or whatever on your in your resin.
Yeah, maybe. You got that side all coated over there.
But keep going over it. I don't think you can have too much.
Yeah, I haven't touched any of this over here.
I was watching the I'm sorry, I don't remember.
The stone coat guy.
The stone coat guy.
I keep saying that.
And he was helping a guy build redo his cabinets, and he had the guy, while it was setting up and hardening, go around like you're doing there, like every 10 minutes, and get those drips off of there.
Yeah.
To prevent the drips that harden on there and that you have to sand off later. You got a whole bunch of it on the counter here.
On the front?
Mm-hmm.
I guess you must have a good camera angle on it, because I haven't seen you move the camera much.
You got a whole bunch of it right there, too. On the table.
Well, where?
Right there.
Trying to do it all with one hand, so keep one hand free.
I think we're good.
So we got a few little bubbles coming up so far. Nothing I don't think
Careful,
is.
you're dripping over the side there. You don't want to end up with it on your.
Yeah, nothing that I don't think is.
Wow, that is beautiful.
Going to be any issues. So guys, I guess that.
We're gonna torch it. Wait.
Okay, we're going to torch it, and then we're going to let you go, and then come back with one more scene afterwards when it's all done. Hopefully. Hopefully it won't take any more pours than this.
I could use a little more propane in there.
Yeah, are you running out?
No, I'm not. Well, it's running low.
The one canister?
Yeah, I just have to fill it. You just have to.
Yeah, it looks like it's just about out. Wow. I'm liking it so far.
Yeah, they're still coming up, but.
Keep your fingers crossed, folks.
We'll let it set and then I'll keep filling it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. We'll be back. Hopefully this thing will be all dry, and we'll come back and show you what it looks like. Hey guys. All right, it's the next day, and look what happened. We had some bubbles come up. When I left it last night, there was a little tiny trace of a bubble, but several more came up after I left. So here's what we're going to do. But all in all, actually, 95% of this I'm super happy with, but I can't live with that. So we're going to use our little Dremel, and this is a little grinding diamond wheel. They're not diamond, but it's like a little grinder. What?
You keep kind of pulling it back out of the...
So I'm going to grind these out, and then we're going to re-pour. I think my Dremel's starting to go. Did you guys hear that? I think my Dremel's starting to go out. We've been doing a lot of work with it lately. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these little imperfections, and then when we come back, we'll put some more resin on this. All right, it worked. I don't know what I did right, but somehow it worked. So here is the final project. Yeah. Vicky's trying to find.
I'm trying to direct so it's not. There's no.
That's
glare.
the.
Just leave it right there.
That's the tough part with this resin. It's tough to get without getting a glare on it. But this is probably the most perfect pour I've ever done. It's not perfect. There are a few little tiny defects in it, but all in all, I am super happy. What?
The corner.
Bring the corner. And what I like,
right
I think what I might like the best is this edge. When I was cleaning this edge off and I saw the difference between the red and the white spots, that's what was really...
Try that. All glare.
All glare. All right. Better?
Yeah.
Anyway, the edge, I hope it comes through on on the camera. But anyway, I am super, super tickled with this thing. I want to get it out of my hands now. I just did a simple, the hanger on the back, I just did a simple cable, which is, you know, normally I put the French cleat on here, but I wanted to do something a little bit simple so it would go up against the wall. So just I just did hanger with the cable on it because it is a little bit heavy. So now let me tell you what I got for this. A buddy of mine from that I met down in Phoenix, part of the Desert AZ Makers Group, he makes knives. And we've been talking about this for a while. I made this in exchange for a knife. So check this bad boy out. So this is a plastic, I don't know what the composite is, but it definitely fits, clips in. But this is called the Reaper. So this is Joe.
Yeah. No.
That way?
That way.
So this is Joe Luna over at Disciple Works. He's the owner there, and he made this, and this is what's called the Reaper style. But I absolutely am in love with this thing. Joe, thank you so much. So you guys got to go check him out. I'm going to have links to all his information.
Straight up and down, yeah.
I'm going to have links to all his information. He's got so many different things that he makes. Truly an amazing craftsman, artist, really. I absolutely love it. Joe, thank you, thank you, thank you. I absolutely love it. So it definitely will go in my collection, and I love this case. It just clips into place and is there, so I can carry it in my back pocket, wherever, but it'll probably go up on a shelf. Honestly, this thing is a work of art. I absolutely adore it. Thank you again, Joe. It's been a true pleasure. I'll be actually dropping this off at your house tomorrow. So that is it, guys. That's it for this one. I hope you guys have a great week. I know it's Monday right now as you're seeing this. We've got something brand new coming up on Wednesday. I don't know. I've got so much content kind of stacked up. I'm not sure exactly what's going to be on Monday, but I got some really cool things in the hopper. If you guys have any questions on this, ask Vicky. Because I am done with resin pours at least this week. But I love the way it came out. It just is stressful. Ask Vic. She knows more than I do. But I love the results of how this came out. The resin, it came out just like I had pictured it in my mind. Anyway, questions, just let me know. Eric@makeitwithsign.com. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, we would love for you to. Just be sure and click that little bell icon so you get notification when we post a new video, which is Monday, Wednesday, and live on Friday, Friday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. That is it. We love you all. Thanks so much for all the support, and we will see you guys on Wednesday. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.